Hey everybody, welcome to the Combo Wombo podcast. I am your host, Mr. Gimpy, and as always, right next to me is the one, the only, the chipped monk. What's up, brother?
What's happening, bro? I did end up ordering a pizza right before this, so if there's like a weird edit,
fucking
I went down. It's me going down to get that pizza.
I get it. That's cool, dude.
It's Friday here, dude. I'm living it up, bro.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. You got
listening to this
fights tonight or what?
No, I'm
that's
just
tomorrow,
listening. Right? I'm listening to audiobooks. That's all I'm doing.
Man, my man's got the night set, man. He got some candles lit. So
got candles lit. My toes up. Yeah. Audiobooks cranked up. My imagination, dude. Is gotta light some scented candles, dude. Get the mood right, dude.
Right.
Yeah, man. I ended up watching this show, Vox Machina. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? It's like the makers
get some hype
the Critical
right
Roles.
Yes.
I don't get the hype, bro. The show is like a solid,
I think it's
in my opinion.
Who made it, you know?
Yeah. Here's my background with it. Like, I never watched Critical Role, and I was just going into it blind. I love sword and sorcery, so I was like, all right, I'll go into this. Whatever. I give the show like a solid 4.5 out of 10. It just, I don't know. They try to do too much. There's I don't know. I know it's based on their D&D adventures or whatever, but to me, I was like, why is anything in here really happening? They start the first episode, spoilers, they fight a dragon, which is a pretty big encounter. I know for D&D. So it's all right, there's some seasoned adventurers.
In a game called Dungeons and Dragons, you'd fight a dragon every now and then, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, man. So I don't know. I call it the Daredevil problem. So Daredevil in the show, that are the comic books. It's hard to go from fighting Daredevil's kind of like a mid-tier superhero, right? So every once in a while he fights some guys with some powers, but most of the time he's street level.
Yes.
But when you film it on TV, you want to build up some tension and drama, but it's hard to build that tension and drama with street level thugs, where it's I just saw this guy fighting a dragon. You expect me to believe he's struggling with some street level thugs? This is ridiculous. So yeah, it's a weird Daredevil problem where he's it's a above average human level strength, but somehow struggles with regular humans when the story needs it. And so that's kind of my whole problem with that is they seem to be basically superheroes who can fight a dragon, but then they're struggling in a bar tavern brawl. It doesn't make any damn sense, man. I don't know.
I'd say Daredevil actually solved it. I get the reasoning, but the Netflix series did a fantastic job, I thought, of keeping it street level. And even when the stakes were raised, Daredevil's the only superhero who gets tired in the middle of fights, and his punches start being weaker.
He's sit down, take a breather in the middle of a fight. He's hunched over.
He famously was hunched over and then looked up because he opened a room that he was hoping there's no guy in, and then there's 4 dudes just sitting there watching TV. And he goes, he has to fight more because he was already done with it. So I think Daredevil does a good job. But yes, you're right. There's something. It's like if this is a video game podcast, we'll go. If you just beat like a 2-headed dragon, you shouldn't die to the street thugs. Yeah. For sure.
It's in a video game, you can only die in a cutscene, but it's you have Phoenix down every other moment. Just give them Phoenix down, dude. It doesn't make sense. Why are they dying? It's because the plot needs it to happen.
I'd say if you One Piece it, right? So after a big arc in One Piece, you I'll take, let's say, the crocodile arc, right? Because that's something that I'm guessing most people in One Piece have watched. Right after the crocodile arc, you just fight the big bad. You're exhausted. You're still beat up from that fight, so it makes sense that some lowly sailors would give you the business. You know what I mean? Yep. But in these
You've been through a lot
and stuff, you're fully healed. You're ready to rock. Yep. All of a sudden it's damn, this low level sailor just fucked me super hard. Pause. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just felt like that entire the Vox Machina could have used a script writer to come back and rewrite it. I don't know. And then I also feel there's too many main casts in it. They could have cut it in half. I think that
There's
get
9
rid
of
of like
them, right? Or is
some
it
crazy shit
something
like that. It's like 8 or 9. It's like,
Yeah.
and that works when you like have 4 hours in a D&D campaign, but like the episodes are only 20 minutes long. And I'm like, yeah, this needs to be like, you can basically combine some of the tropes and the characters and it still works. It's fine.
Yeah.
Give me like, just make it 3 or 4 main cast and that's all you need. I don't know.
Gotcha.
That's just, and I don't know, my buddy was like telling me like, oh no, you just got to watch all the Critical Role, like watch the thousands of hours of
to be fair to your buddy though, you are a hater. So I mean,
Yeah,
let's just put that out there right now.
It's facts, man. Yeah, it just could have used like somebody like better also for like the director, whoever was directing them, because like at some points they're doing like other characters and they'll have like accents and then they'll just stop doing an accent. It's like they forgot like what type of character they're doing for somebody, like other throwaway character, and I don't know. I was like, man, you couldn't have like hired other voice actors too, man. You guys wanted to keep all the money. Like, this is ridiculous. I know you guys, that's what you do professionally, but hire some more people. Like, it's like or at least like get a better sound engineer in there to like, tune up the voice. It's like, I know that's you, bro. Like, pitch it up, pitch it down, like add some treble or bass to the voice. Like, it's so much you could do.
I think why it works is they have such an eclectic mix of people who you don't typically see together. So it's a definite, sword and sorcery tale, it's like a ragtag group of people fighting. I get it. So here's the thing, and on the chip scale of recommendations, 4.5 out of 10 is go ahead and watch it. It's everyone else is about 6 out of 10, I'd say.
Yeah, you'll probably like it. Like I didn't, I don't know. I think like you and I also kind of suffer from this problem where we like have more of a critical lens for like film and stuff too, where like
yes,
we understand like story, plot, and pacing. And it just, to me, it felt like somebody should have had a script doctor come in there, because they already have like the entire story laid out. But like, I would have condensed it down and then half the cast, just because of the format. It's 20 minutes. Yeah. If you have this many characters, you need the show to be an hour long, like just so they can all breathe. Because right now it's just like the pacing's all over the place. It's like super hectic. I don't know. That's just like things complete? You notice. What?
Is it complete or is it ongoing?
The show, the animation's ongoing, but their story's complete. Like
okay.
I found this out today because I was like, what the heck? Is it like still going on? Because I looked up the wiki and I was like, no, they have like their end stories already for these characters. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, so it's like, at least you'll get closure. You know it. That's kind of cool.
You have closure no matter what on the show. Like if it doesn't get renewed or whatever, it's out there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, man.
It seems like a pretty epic story from like the wiki, but like,
yeah.
I
get you.
I need it fast paced. I got no patience for this, man.
Right, for sure, man. Dude,
what have you been up to, bro?
The past 8-10 days or so, I was sick.
I saw that, man. You were dying, bro.
That went through my house, through the kids and wife. Finally got me. It snuck up on me one day, dude. I was streaming. All of a sudden, I felt like just completely
like this is
not
it.
myself.
But you had to know it was coming, right? Like,
bro, it's like a switch. I swear. Because I was like, hey, no one's been sick for like a week. I feel fine. I'm good. Yeah. I'm ready to go. I start streaming one night. And then midway through the stream, like just this wave of sickness just hits me. I'm like, well, I'm like, oh, I do not feel good. I do not. And then I was like, okay, I don't feel good. So I like made some tea and I looked and I took my temperature, and it was like 102.7. I'm like, that's awfully high.
It's a bit much.
And then during the stream, I'm like, okay, whatever. My temperature is climbing. It's no one gets that high. 103. Just chilling,
just going, man.
Which is high for an adult, It's like, okay,
it's a bit, yeah.
All right. So then I spent the next day. I ended the stream early. Spent the next day. I literally slept for 24 hours.
Yeah. So it seems to be like what my body does as well. Like where it's like I'm feeling sick, and then my body just shuts down. Then I wake up, and I'm like, that was a whole day gone. Now what? Like,
so I spent 3 full days in bed, and then
do you have that Austin Powers pee when you wake up? You know what I'm talking about? Like where Austin Powers gets all that cryogenic freeze and it just keeps pissing?
No, I haven't had that in a long time. I think, I don't know. It's just, I assume I don't know. I assume it's just like a jet
You just
stream.
sweat
Like
it
it's
out.
like a yeah. I sweat out all the year. Yeah, exactly.
103, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I did, dude. I woke up. I was so thirsty.
Yeah, man.
um, yeah, this is actually the first coffee I've had in like nearly 2 weeks. So I had to get my vice of Starbucks. People are like, "Oh, Starbucks is trash." It's the trash I know. It's the trash I know. I
Yeah.
needed
It's
it.
a very mediocre coffee that,
Yeah, man,
but it's
love it.
solid.
You know what you're getting.
You know who does a decent coffee now as well? Like if we're going big brand,
Mm,
McDonald's. They upped their coffee game at some point because it
really?
used to be dog shit.
Yeah,
Like you used to
yeah,
have like the worst coffee ever, and then like I think somebody got in there and they're like, "What if we just actually got it good?" And then they're like, "Brilliant, give this
yeah,
man a
yeah, yeah.
raise."
They legitimately have like a signature coffee brand that they sell in stores now too.
Yeah, it's better than what it was. It's not
You're still getting
anything.
fast food coffee, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's
But if we're talking
funny?
about like mediocrity, like what
Yeah,
it's like it's a
I
consistent.
I actually legitimately enjoy like the gas station coffee.
Yeah,
Like a French vanilla or whatever, like from the
yeah.
gas station. There's some weird thing where it just is sweet enough without adding sugar. I don't
It's
know,
just
man. It's this
whatever
weird thing.
chemicals they pump into
Yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah. Right. Whatever that
Oh.
syrup is, that syrup's delicious.
Did you get a chance to see that game I made, the Bike and Vibe?
I did. I
What
did. I
did you
did.
think, man?
I was like, I'm still sick because this is a fever dream, bro.
I put that together like in hopes to make you feel better. Honestly, I was like, I want to capture being outside, that feeling of wandering around with nowhere to go and nothing to do.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like, I'm gonna
yeah.
make a game where you bike around and that's it. That's all
Yeah,
you can do.
yeah. I'll put the game up right here for anyone watching. That's the game Chip made. We're biking around. I appreciate the consistency that you're pumping stuff out, dude. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
I yeah, I've been playing catch up at work since missed a bunch of time. I've been playing catch up there. Gotta get going on the game dev stuff. Hopefully, I'll do that
Yeah,
tonight.
man. You've been
Um,
sick as well, man. It's hard to do anything.
yeah, yeah,
It's kind of the most bullshit, like double-edged sword too, because it's like you're like, oh man, uh, I have all this free time, but I don't feel good enough to do anything.
yeah.
Like
It was
it's
to the
like,
point where I couldn't even like lift my head up to watch TV, dude. Like,
yeah,
it's yeah.
it's
Uh,
wild. But that's something that I always think. That's what I'm more upset about than being sick as an adult. Where I'm just like, this is just free time. I can't even fucking do anything.
yeah,
This is
man.
the worst.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's annoying. That being said, man, outside of just being sick and not able to really work on anything, I did I did revamp my game Bible for the stealth game. Uh,
oh,
I got I reached a conclusion um, of what type of stealth I wanted to pursue,
yeah, yeah.
and it's a type that it's when it was done in Splinter Cell, I thought that it was a cop out. But I think because I'm doing using 2 dimensions, it will work in my favor.
Okay.
Splinter Cell called it like active stealth, where and Splinter Cell Conviction, where you were basically just causing chaos and you were just killing as many people as you can super quick. So
Hmm.
the idea was, yeah, you're not being silent, you're just killing people so fast that it's still stealthy.
Yeah.
Like active stealth. So what I'm doing is, I believe I told you I had a dash mechanic that I was working into it. Um, it was going to be like I'll just tell you the plot here and everything what's going on. So you start off
Spoilers, man.
it's in a school, and these 3 teachers kind of take over the school. They're aliens in disguise, and the school turns out to be a big spaceship, and everyone's trying to get the hell out. They're trying to
Get out
abduct
the
you,
spaceship.
basically. So you're trying to escape the school. To get through it, you have to beat 3 bosses. Like an English teacher, a gym teacher, and the principal. You have to fight the bosses in order. You have to get the key from like the English teacher and to get to the gym and all
Do
of
you have
that.
like any weapons in this, or is it just like sneaky puzzle based, like defeating them?
It's sneaky. The dashing into an enemy will be your attack.
Okay.
Um, you cannot take anyone on head on. If
Hmm.
you do, I'm making a non-failure state for the game. So if you do, you just kind of go back to where
There
you
you go.
were. You'll end up in detention. So you'll always spawn in like a detention room, and each time you get caught, the boss that you haven't fought yet gets more powerful. and
Okay.
they'll be capped on like their power level.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you could make your next boss fight harder. If doing it, like I said, no failure state, you'll just have a harder time getting through the game.
Why
The
not
other
go
thing,
the opposite way, man? Make it easier. Like if you're already struggling, bro, why you gotta put all this on me, bro?
because the mechanics is the way to complete the game, and it forces you to get good at the mechanics.
All
So
right, yeah, yeah.
so that's the thought.
Are you gonna
And
try and set it up like the rooms before that, like will teach you like the systems you need to beat the boss type of thing, like the wordless tutorial, as they say? Like,
yes, yes. And the other thing is, I usually hate this in games, but I think it would work really well for this. Is the entire game will have a time limit.
all right, yeah,
Um, so the faster you do things, you can get out. And it lets me have an escape sequence as well, which I've always wanted to do and never had to. So I basically have the entire game, written out, boss patterns written out. I've been drawing. I've been doing layouts like the entire school layout because, like I said, it's one big map, and
yep.
you'll just find like pieces to
Are you
get
using
into
like
other rooms and stuff.
grid paper first, or are you just going
I've
right into that editor? And,
no, I'm using grid paper actually. I
uh,
have like a big a big graph paper thing that I set up, and I have about 4 designs right now that I have to go back and look to now that I'm not sick.
yeah,
See which
yeah.
one like really works for game flow. Uh, Boss rooms are set. There'll be locked doors. I figure that with that and with it being an open environment, um, I thought it'd be kind of cool to also have at least the first boss roaming the hallways too. So
Okay, yeah, yeah. Kind
so
of like a nemesis type of situation with like Resident
yeah,
Evil, where it's like
yeah. That's I just have that. I have question marks around that because I'm not sure if I want to pursue it just yet because I like the
you
idea
could
of
add
like
like a new
finding it.
character, like a hall monitor or something, which is like a
Oh, that's
nemesis.
one of the
As
enemy types actually is the hall
okay,
monitor. Um,
you need like the
s-
penultimate hall monitor, the hall boss.
yeah, yeah. So there's a hall monitor. Then there's like other like just kind of grunts where they're patrolling or trying to get to you. So like I said, I want the dash to be like the main mechanic of the game. So that's how you're going to be getting around, and it's going to be line of sight, and it's going to be audio. You walking makes noise, and I represent that with like little lines around the character. And if the lines overlap a character, that means that they could hear you. There'll be visual cones for your visuals, and yeah, like I said, I hope to make it because I think one of the things with stealth games is only a few games do the waiting around and still being fun.
Yeah.
And for me, I thought like outside of Metal Gear or like the early Splinter Cells, I thought most games like the waiting around is the most boring part. But being active and like moving quickly through rooms could be very fun. So that's what I'm gonna try. So I gotta get some mouse to digital paper here and get
Start
going.
hammering
But
it out. Yeah.
but yeah, like I said,
Mix up all our metaphors. You're like a
yeah.
mouse to digital paper. I'm like, yeah, get that hammer in there.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that's where I'm headed
I
to, and
I wish I had done like half of what you've done because like I started making like my game, and I kind of have like a general idea of like the Resident Evil type and sneaking
yes,
around. I had like a general idea of like, all right, I know that there's going to be some traversal and some puzzles, and then like I started just making the game from that.
yeah,
And so I've made like 2 floors, and then I was like, all right, how am I supposed to like have the connective tissue here and like actually add like the puzzles and stuff? And so then like I had to like go in and I've like been destroying like the level that I made and like trying to add in the puzzles after the fact. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, this is a lot more work that I made for myself by not doing the work up front and
yeah.
thinking this through. So
Yeah, I'm
uh
making it like I chose like a it's like just one big map, so I'm using like this kind of Metroidvania kind of layout where everything is connected, um,
mhm.
which which I think from a stealth game like you're gonna know where things are, and I think from a gameplay sense each if I want to expand on it more, I doubt I will, just because like I said, this is supposed to be a smaller project just to get
Yeah.
my feet wet again. But I thought I could auto generate different rooms. So they'll all be in like all the rooms will spawn in the same area, but when you go into the room, it'll be a different room each
Yeah.
run. So that way you can have some replayability. But yeah, we'll see how far I get. But Yeah, man. I like what you're doing too, where you just jump into the engine and you just start doing things. That's what I wanted to avoid because like I didn't want to like have to restart from scratch. Like I have this
I'm
engine, but
getting
I have
to
no idea
that
where it
point,
goes.
bro. I'm
Yeah.
getting to like where like I broke like my player controller at one point. I'm like, all right, I gotta redo this because like
Yeah.
I wanted to add in the puzzle part. So I started working on that like last weekend.
Okay.
No, it was the weekend before that. So it was like 2 weeks ago already. So I started
Yeah.
adding in like the examine feature and stuff like in like a 3D menu.
Yes.
And I was like breaking it. And then I was like, shit, all right, whatever. I'll worry about this later. I'm just going to like focus on like the level design. But then I didn't have anything written for the level design. So then it's like pulling apart like my levels and like trying to make something that works. So then this last weekend, I was like, all right, I just need a break from all this shit. And that's when I made like the bike and vibe
Spike
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, something I could throw together like 12 hours, a couple of days. It's like just a game where you bike around and there is
Sure,
no
man.
game.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. It's you gotta break away from it. But yeah, man, like I said, I'm hoping to I'll have some time tomorrow evening to work on something. So that's the plan. Just get some game dev done. I got just time with family tonight. So that's
Yeah,
that's the plan there.
it's also
Been
important,
enjoying
man. You almost
Peacemaker
died
on HBO
from your
Max, and
sickness.
yeah, right. Peacemaker, Book of Boba Fett. So I'll watch that. Me and the wife will hang out, and tomorrow some game devin. But yeah, man, like let's get into something that you brought up
Yeah.
that I think is interesting because I will say like the game that I'm working on now, like yes, there's combat, but I wouldn't call it violence.
Yeah. So this kind of came up for me when I was watching somebody else talk about like popular games people make. And they're like, everybody just loves violence, the most popular games. It was kind of remind me of like that early 90s, like, the Tipper Gore, like these
Joseph
video
Lee,
games,
yeah.
the ruining the children. Look at Phantasmagoria. All these games are like, pure violence and horribleness. And I was like, yeah, man, this guy's right. What's wrong with me? I need to like come up with, and I had just finished that bike and vibe game where like
Yeah.
you just bike around, and I was like, this guy's right. Why is like my first idea to like make violent video games? And then I was like, wait a minute, this just doesn't sound right. Because before that, I had just watched a YouTube video about like a YouTuber Asmongold. He was reacting to like the top played or top selling video games of all times. And so like I had that knowledge in my head, and I was like, wait, the most popular video games aren't violent, dude. Like,
No,
so
no.
I got the list here, and I'll just like run down it real quick. It's
Sure.
Minecraft, Grand Theft Auto 5, sure, that's definitely violent, but Tetris, Wii Sports, PUBG, Super Mario Bros, Pokemon's, Mario Kart, Wii Fit, and then the other Tetris game, I guess, from Nintendo owned. But if
Sure.
you
Those
discount
games, yeah.
second Tetris, it's Pac-Man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like I would say like PUBG and definitely Grand Theft Auto are violent on that list. But I mean, cartoony violence, you could say Pokemon and maybe Super Mario Bros. Because they bounce on each other's heads, or
Nobody would call that violent,
yeah,
dude. Like no
yeah.
one in the right mind. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I
Video
was just,
games are escapist fantasy, really.
yeah.
The fact that you have violent games means nothing, man. That's just something that's there.
Yeah, and
I
these are
think
like the best sellers of all times. Like this is 150 million units, 240 million Minecraft games sold. Like
yeah.
basically that thing's installed on everything. Like I don't know, like people don't. I think like it's easy to point at the violent examples because they stand out so much. But I would say those are more an exception than like mainstream what most people want to play. Like most people, like you said, want to escape. They want to enjoy something. They want to be like a super athlete. They want to like go super fast, and we want to do superhuman feats. Like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily about like the murder sims that
Right.
that the
No,
government would have you think they are.
no, it's funny you mention that because whenever I start to make a game or I get a game idea, I would say it's hardly ever violent, and if it is, it would be so over the top where no one would classify it as violence. It would be like cartoon violence or absurdist,
Yeah.
where it's just like no one in the right mind would think that this was anything other than just like an absurdist style of commentary.
Like parody. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a certain
exactly.
point, yeah.
It goes into parody because while I love like horror movies and stuff, if I ever made like a true horror game, blood would be dripping from the walls at like all times. Like you'd be ripping off people's skin and wearing their skin as like a
Yeah.
costume and stuff. Where people are like it's so much where it just desensitizes you and it just doesn't. It's like it doesn't make sense.
I think
So
they made that game. It was like called Condemned, wasn't it? On the Xbox. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
It kind
I
of had
have
like the same type
Condemned and
of
Condemned 2 Bloodshot, but
that
there's
whole game. I wasn't scared of until you got to the part where there's like mannequins. The mannequins threw me.
it was like
There's
the
something,
second level too. Like,
yeah, and then it's throughout the rest of the game too, where it's just
Yeah.
like you gotta go through like a mazes of mannequins at a certain point. It's like it's weird.
yeah. But like I said, nothing really needs to be violent. One of the very first games that I've ever made that I'm super proud of was a puzzle game, like a traditional like just puzzle game.
Yeah.
Like you don't need violence for anything. There's this funny thing where I'm looking at my own games list, like behind me.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a lot of shooters and stuff just because I played them a lot, like Halos, Half-Lives, stuff like that. But other than that, it's there's fighting games, which are they violent, or it's more cartoon violence, I'd say, outside of Mortal Kombat. Even then, that's ridiculous.
So over the top, yeah, it gets the parody where you're like ripping spines out, like
Yeah.
blowing fire.
Yeah, but then I
like-
have like shmups and stuff where like Mushihime Sama Futari was one of the games back there, and that's bug princess fights or whatever the hell, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna be anyone's gonna be
Yeah.
mad at that and be playing that. So, yeah,
I think I think it was more of like a bigger commentary on just like lazy game design, like especially
okay.
for like early game devs where it's like it's so easy to make like a first person shooter like from a design perspective, like even if it's like 2D where it's like or you're shooting out like a projectile and there's like
Sure.
mostly bullet physics literally in like every video game engine out there.
Yes.
And then like if you create a zombie, it's like that's the simplest AI because everyone was like, why is everything a
Just
zombie?
towards
It's
you.
like because it's so easy to write that AI. It's like just head towards use whatever navigation AI thing that you need and head towards player. That's it. That's all you need to program.
Yep.
So I think it's more of a bigger commentary on just like lazy design than it is about like violence, where it's like people are just like, what's something easy I can throw together from
true.
Unity assets?
Now let me ask you this. Can you give me 3 non-violent games that you'd say like are your favorites, where you think it's good game design and like no one in the right mind would call it violent?
No, it's interesting because I played that Dicey Dungeon game recently.
Yes.
But there's you do damage. I don't know, like it's HP, but
I
I wouldn't.
that.
Exactly, like you said, like nobody in their right mind would be like, this is
Yeah.
violence. I
Yeah.
don't know. There's Bike and Vibe I just made, where all you do is bike and vibe. Dude, there's no
I-
violence in that.
I'd say off the top of my head, in no particular order, Katamari Damacy, right? Like that game, no one in the world would think that game is violent.
Creating universes out of black holes by rolling up things.
Exactly.
It's ultimate destruction.
And I'll put a game that has a shooting mechanic. One of my favorite puzzle games of all time, Puzzle Bobble, or
I thought you were going to
Bust a
say
Move.
Portal.
No, yeah, Portal's another one, right? Puzzle game where it's just not violent at all. Even though it deals with death, the robot tries to kill you. GLaDOS tries to kill you. So, and then outside of that, like if we're looking, like you notice that none of these games are violent, but then they're like puzzle aspects typically. Another thing I can think of, like pretty much any platformer, really, right? Like Mario, Sonic, Earthworm Jim. You can shoot people, but I wouldn't call that violent. Like it's cartoony violence, right?
Maybe you've just been desensitized by.
Maybe it is. But I don't think even like games that keep popping up on this pod, right? When we had our big discussion on our old game, our new games better than old games, the games that popped up right away were like Jazz Jackrabbit, Micro Machines, Sensible
Mega
World of
Man.
Soccer, Mega Man. No game where Mega Man is the most violent one out of
Fast
all of
and
that,
Furious.
right? Like it doesn't. Like I would argue that there's less violent games as a whole than there are violent games.
Yeah, and they sell way better. Like, so I don't know. I was thinking about this more and more because I've been looking at like uh how indie games sell, and like there's people who like have breakdowns like based on genre, and uh it seems like there's a lot of indie games that end up in just like mindless shooters. And again, I think it's mostly just like that asset flip, like quick, easy to
Sure.
program mindset that like creates like a litany of like really bad games, but like nobody's playing them. There's just a lot of them, so like it skews like the results into like a crazy amount where it's like it's 100,000 really bad games. Was it like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear just make a sound? It's like if you make like a ridiculously over the top gory game that you're like trying to get like clickbait and headlines with, like, and nobody plays it, like you don't get that Streisand effect of everyone like, oh, don't look away, think of the children. Like, I feel like a lot more games media is actually getting wise to that, and they're not even giving it like the bad attention anymore.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a really slow news day, then maybe.
right. Like when Hatred, like I'll bring that game up again. Got on like on news websites and stuff. It's like the worst game of all time. It's like that game one is trash too. It's just violent for violence sake.
It seemed like almost like an homage to like the first Postal game, which was also just violence for violence sake. But like the same
first
camera.
Postal game actually has some merit to exist, so that's a pretty decent.
I think everything has merit to exist. Like it definitely felt like that game was crossing over to satire. I'd never bought it, but I've watched like some quick play of the game. It seemed like a really badly done like attempt to spoof Postal, but like make it more edgy.
Yeah.
Like how can we make
edgelord main character?
It was like it went to like was it like Hot Shots Part Duel or whatever, where it's like they took like a parody and then they're like, what if we made this more hardcore, dude? It's like, no, you missed the point.
it's that's like what happens when big studios try and be edgy as well, right?
Yeah.
Remember what sells right now, early 2000s? Let's see, everyone likes Jackass and tits. Oh yeah, let's we'll do like BMX biking. BMX Triple X. Yeah, Dave.
Was the dodgeball one with the Dead or Alive volleyball?
Yeah, Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. Yeah, that actually has 3 games in the series. Like,
it was an okay.
Well, the worst part about it is it was actually a pretty decent life sim game, right? It's actually not terrible. The blackjack interface was pretty good. The volleyball, actually, they enhanced it in the sequels and wasn't bad, And I just love that the creators of the game were all like, no, this is not a masturbation fantasy. It literally has a photo mode and the skimpiest costume the whole time.
So
I don't know what that's there for.
But it's there just in case.
Right. Just in case.
Post this on your Facebook or whatever, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird that like a lot of these, like like there was like a weird point where like people are like, let's take something and then like try and make it extreme. And like their idea of extreme is like add boobs to it, which is weird.
Yeah, right.
I guess they're just looking at like
newsflash, people, boobs exist in life. Like you can go.
I think they're just kind of looking at like the demographics, and then they're like, what can we pander to the lowest common denominator of? Right. And they're like, it looks like most people that are buying these games are between like 13 and 30 male.
So literally THQ's like age demographic.
And they like looked at that and they're like, how can we? What do teens and young adults want? And they're like, boobs. And someone's like, all right, brilliant. It's like you said, it's like that like board meeting, like marketing, like thinking of like how can we reach these kids?
Yes. So it's I think too we're in the era where we are like 30 years into gaming hitting the mainstream, because I'd say like the 80s and the was part of the boom. 70s, 80s definitely boom because the arcades, but 90s, like 80s and definitely 90s gaming came home. You need your pizza, don't you?
I think this is just like buzzing over there. We were talking about how games have reached their mature. It's been 30 years.
Yeah. Games suck ass. Chip has his pizza.
Made it, boys.
We did it. The pod just got even better.
They didn't notify me or anything, dude. I was just like, there's not like a thing that says it's been delivered. I was like, I'm checking my receipt. And I was like, I was here, like Scott's like, you good? I'm like, nah.
Chip, Chip's place. They have to just leave that pizza on the floor outside. So it's like, let me see, it's
There's
8 degrees outside. So someone just like walked by, said, set that pizza on the floor, and said, "Fuck them," and then walked out.
like, it's
They didn't
good,
call you or
dude.
anything. They're like,
It's
"You're fine."
yeah, it's pretty chill, literally. So I don't
So
know.
we'll let
It was
Chip
either
eat
down
here
there
in a
for 5
second.
minutes or 2 hours. Who knows?
But
It's
yeah,
impossible to tell.
what I was saying was games, for the most part, really aren't violent. The games that sell aren't really violent. It's usually just like cartoony and things like that. Like the most popular shooter right now is still arguably Fortnite, right? In terms of just raw player numbers, and that's
Yeah.
like one of the most cartoony games of all time. It
Some
doesn't matter. You don't need
PUBG's up
violence to
there,
sell.
but
Yeah. I mean, well,
mean,
if you talk international,
there's still like I would say it's more about like the competitiveness, like what makes a good, fun, competitive multiplayer game. But
yes,
I mean, like you can look at like things like flash in the pants, like Fall Guys, where people are like, oh, that's can argue that that's also violent, like you fall off, but like, is it though? No sane person would look at that and be like, this is pure violence.
Yeah. So before you left to grab your pizza, I asked you some of your favorite non-violent games. I think I asked for a top 3. Do you?
I think did we cover as like a so there's
No, your
Viking
personal favorite.
vibe. Tetris is up there.
Yeah.
Man, you put me on the spot.
Can I put one on your list?
Yeah, all right. What's
Lost
up?
Vikings.
The Lost Vikings.
Yeah.
Is it pretty good? They're kind of violent though. It's like up there with like Lemmings. Would you consider like
I wouldn't.
is Lemmings violence?
It's a violence if you make it violent. You know what I mean? It's like, is Worms violent? Like, yes, I guess, right?
Tamagotchis.
Right.
These pets can die if you don't take care of them.
Yeah, man. So I think the main thing that we're trying to say right now is if you're not in the gaming space, people generalize so much, man. Like they're like, oh yeah, you like super violent things, like it's depraved, it's horrible. All video games are no, dude. Most games are not actually violent.
I would say like you could also like find yourself falling into that trap as well. Like I said, when I first heard that guy say that, the first thing I wasn't like, no, you're wrong. And I was like, yeah, sounds right. And then I thought about it for like a second. And I was like, oh wait, no, that's completely wrong. I just kind of like took it at face value because I was like, oh,
True.
I was like, wait,
True.
no.
So I think
I would also like say like when you're designing a game too, it's like it's good to keep that in mind that like the most popular best-selling things aren't mindless zombie shooters. So like just take a second when you're like thinking about like if you're designing a game or making something from the ground up and be like, how can I make this like interesting and fun and compelling? Maybe like how can I add competitive elements to this? If I'm going to have it online or not, like, all those type of things are what you should think about. Don't be like, oh, what's out there? How can I do like the quickest asset flip, turn a dollar type of thing?
For sure. Yeah, man. I think with the advent of indie games and stuff like that, we're getting to the point where yes, oversaturation, but you see that gameplay wins out. I think that's the main thing. Gameplay, storytelling, and
I would say like
usually
also
it's non-violent stories.
I don't know. Maybe this is also like one of those things where like don't take it at face value like I do, but based on my limited amount of research, it doesn't really seem viable like for like a way to carve out a living. Also like just like being like a indie game dev, like that's all I'm gonna do. Like it's an extremely competitive market that's like I don't know, they're calling it like what the indie apocalypse.
Yeah.
So
yeah. We're still in it. Yep.
Yeah, we're still in. I think they're saying something like 120, 130 games a day are getting dropped on Steam. A lot of them are like quick flips, stolen assets, like all kinds of random weird stuff. But so it's hard to stand out from that noise. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's hard. It's hard to do, and it's also hard to like carve out a niche. It's hard to build up a following. Like I don't know. I feel like be careful. Like, I've noticed like the rise of like weird like charlatans as well, like on YouTube, like trying to sell you like a course. They're like, oh, we can make money quick right now. Like,
Yeah.
making games are easy. Like how to get money from publishers and stuff. And it's like, some publishers will like offer you like a couple $100, maybe 1,000 to like own your game, your idea, like your IP, like own everything.
Yep.
But then like, I don't know, it was like another YouTuber I was watching who was like, my game got, I think it was like 400,000 downloads and I got no money from it because the publisher just took his money
Just fucked it. Yeah,
and like went out of business. And they're like, what can you do?
Yeah, that's, it's, we are in the indie apocalypse, but yeah, man, it's not all violence. There's definitely shysters out there, but I think let's just get back to the core topic here. We're not, games aren't violent. Definitely violent games exist, but for the most part, the ones that are popular, the ones that most people are playing, are not violent. And I think that,
if you want to stand out above like all the noise that's going on right now, like in the indie space, like you gotta find something that's like fun, interesting, like compelling. Like you said, like gameplay is gonna win out. But like if you like box yourself into like the simplest, easiest thing that you can do, like you're not gonna win out. Like unless you get like really lucky. I guess you could get lucky, right? Like it's what a lot of people are selling you is like get the lottery scratch. You gotta be win it big, like on this flip, and it's like, bro, no.
True. Yeah, man. I think that's the main takeaway here. Just a lot of people try and put you in a box to try and generalize the medium we love, but the medium we love is mainstream now. We are like years ago there'd be people shunned in a back room where no one talked about them. Like, oh, those are the gamers. It's like no, it's not like that anymore. Everyone plays games, violent or not. It's here to stay, and generalizations are just that. Like it doesn't mean a damn thing. It's not typically not true. So
and it's like it's don't limit yourself either. Like you're literally in a space of infinite possibilities. Like don't be like, what's everyone else doing, what's been done. Be like, you can literally look at like a Rocket League where it's like big cars like shooting soccer balls into nets, dude. Like that's awesome. I don't know. Exactly. Don't be like, oh, what can I do that's like simple and easy? Like
right.
It's like you literally have an empty space where you can build anything that you're like can imagine. If you have like enough time and energy, and I don't know. It's hard to do, but it's super fun and rewarding to do as well. So
yeah. Long story short, we are the creators, and you just make whatever your heart wants. That's all it is, man. But yeah, dude, I think we'll end it here. Let you eat your pizza before it gets all cold.
This pizza. I had one bold prediction for this week, and I want to get it off my chest.
Okay.
Because we are the podcast that predicts the future. Yes. I'm going to say this year, 2022, Nintendo is going to team up with a car manufacturer to make a Nintendo car.
The fuck?
That's where the puck's going, dude. If you just, I know it sounds crazy, but if you understand Nintendo and like the history of Japan, you'd be like, and I'm basing more on like the chip shortage.
Sure.
I'm thinking they're gonna have to like have, so Nintendo always has like a skunk works where they're coming up with something interesting, but they also have a dying technology branch. So they look at like technologies that are dying that they can get on cheap to like make this, where they came up with the idea for the light gun, right? So they found out like light diodes were like super cheap. So they bought up a ton of them and they're like, how can we turn this into something we can sell to people? So I'm thinking they have like warehouses somewhere just full of like 5 to 7 year old like chip technology. And they're going to come out with like some sort of normal ass car with like Nintendo branding on it with a partnership with like another big, Japanese car manufacturer, just because they have the chips. And I don't think they're going to sell for like, quiet partnership to sell them chips. I think they're going to want to team up and they're going to want to put their branding on it, just so they can charge more of a premium for an old product. They're like, everything in this car is 5 years old. Why are you charging us full price? It's like, because you're going to hit.
Because it has a Mario on it. Yeah. Okay.
That's my bold prediction is everyone's talking about like what's, Nintendo going to buy up, what's Sony going to buy up, and
Nintendo quietly making a car.
Nintendo quietly making a car
against Tesla. Okay. All right. Man.
I don't say it was an electric car. They're just making a car.
Okay. All right. It's on record.
It's on record, dude. Like when they do it here in a few months, the people be like, damn, they were right.
Oh, shit. All right, guys. Well, that will be the pod for this week. Sound off in the comments for any non-violent games that you absolutely love. And we'll see you guys all next week for for Combo Wombo. I'm Mr. Gimpy. That's Chipped Monk.
With the
And
pizza.
with the pizza, and we're out of here. Take care, everybody. We
Peace.
out.